I invited an armed stranger into my grandmother's home because I had the craziest idea of my life. My grandmother has dementia, and every single Sunday I visit to take care of her. We watch shows, I make her breakfast, teach her how to knit again. But 3 months ago, someone knocked on her door. I thought it was a neighbor or a delivery, but when I opened it, my legs nearly gave out. It was an old man, gray hair matted with dirt, clothes that were torn and stained. His eyes looked through me like I wasn't even there. But that's not why I was so shaken. You see, I knew exactly who this man was. I'd seen him once before in my life, 16 years ago. I looked down at his hand and saw him holding a rusty metal pipe. I was trying to figure out what to do when Grandma called out from the kitchen. "Who's at the door? Is that my husband?" My heart broke. I looked at the potentially dangerous, clearly confused man, then back toward the kitchen. I gently reached my hand out to see if he'd give me the pipe, and he did. That's why I came up with the craziest idea of my life. For context, I need to explain how I know this man. When I was 8, my parents and I were living with my grandma in this exact house. One day, I came home from school and found a stranger on our patio. He was clawing at our back door trying to get in. I was terrified, so I locked myself in my room and called my mom. She called the cops. When they arrived, this man refused to go with them. He was violent, even charging at an officer, knocking him unconscious and beating him viciously. They had to tase him to get him down because 3 people weren't enough. Later that night, one of the officers came back and explained everything. The man's name was Terry. He had severe autism and early onset dementia. She told us that Terry had lived in Grandma's house with his wife before Grandma bought it, 30 years, but she died in this living room. And after she passed, his mind started deteriorating. His kids put him in a facility, but his brain never let go of this house. As time went on, he became convinced his wife was still alive, so he escaped. Walked 5 kilometers just to find his wife in this exact house and reunite with her. The officer promised it wouldn't happen again, and it didn't, for 16 years. But now, here he was, still searching for his wife and Grandma. Every week she asks where her husband is. Every week I tell her he died 3 years ago, and every week I watch her heart break like it's the first time. That's why I invited Terry in. I was very apprehensive when he walked into the living room. I was watching him carefully, placing myself within reach of sharp objects just in case. But as soon as Terry got to the living room, his whole face changed. He smiled like he was finally home. He sat on the couch and looked around at the walls, taking it in. I walked into the kitchen to where Grandma was doing her brain training puzzles. "Was that my husband? Is he here?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "Yes, Grandma, your husband is here." Her face lit up. I'd never seen her so happy. I took her hand and led her into the living room. Then I walked over and whispered to Terry, "Your wife is here. She's been waiting for you." I watched him look at Grandma. They made eye contact with each other, not saying a word. I stared between them, hoping they'd buy it. Then after what felt like minutes, they both started crying. Grandma walked toward him. Terry stood up, and they hugged. Not a polite hug, a real one. The kind where you hold on like you're afraid to let go. They sat together and talked about nothing that made sense and everything that mattered. He told jokes that weren't funny. She laughed like he was the funniest man on earth. She called him honey. He called her sweetheart. I made them lunch. They ate across from each other, and every few seconds, one would look up just to make sure the other was still there. Then everything came crashing down. There was another knock at the door. I opened it and saw 2 officers, holding a photo of Terry. "Ma'am, we got a report that a patient escaped from Greenview facility, possibly armed. Have you seen him?" I looked back at the living room. Terry was stroking Grandma's hair while she slept on his shoulder. "He's here," I said, "but please let me explain." I told them everything. Terry's wife, Grandma's dementia. I know this looks insane, but look at them. They're happy. The officers looked at the couch. Long silence. "We have to take him back. That's protocol." My heart sank. But one pulled out a card. "Call Director Wires tomorrow. Tell her Officer Cambridge sent you." They grabbed Terry gently. Grandma woke up confused. "Where is he going? Why is he leaving?" She was almost crying. She reached for his hand. I knelt beside her. "He has to go, Grandma, but he'll be back, I promise." I called Director Wires the next morning. She told me she'll see what she can do. Next Sunday, Grandma was sitting looking out the window, almost crying when there was a knock at the door. I answered it and saw Terry with 2 officers 50 feet behind him, smiling. I invited him and introduced him to his wife all over again. They cried and hugged. Now every Sunday, Terry's caretakers bring him over to spend time with his wife. They hold hands, they watch TV, they laugh together. Neither knows the truth, neither needs to.